Yo, what's cracking, folks? Welcome to episode number 1 of The Painter and the Pixie. I am Jeremy Vassar.
And I'm Serina Vassar.
And we're your hosts for The Painter
and the Pixie.
So in this episode of the podcast, Serina and I are going to chat about our January challenge, which includes some dietary components, also some exercise, a little bit of yoga thrown in there, as well as some production and output type things. Scattered throughout, we have some nutrition tips and tricks.
Super fun. I think you'll enjoy.
From Serina. And yeah, I think that's a good enough lead up. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please enjoy the first ever episode of The Painter and the Pixie.
This is only the beginning.
All right, ready?
Ready?
What you're going to hear about today is nothing short of a miracle.
Well, I don't believe it.
Let's find out. Ready, set, go.
Yo, what's up, girlie? How you doing?
Hi, I'm good. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, it's good to be back on mic. I'm excited to be finally recording again. I'm sure we've mentioned this in the intro, but this is the first episode of The Painter and the Pixie. So I'm, I guess we did a little bit of an intro to us in the introduction here, but I think we'll talk, maybe expand a bit on who we are and what it is we're doing on this fine program. So as you guys know, my name is Jeremy Vassar. I am a painting contractor. I've owned and operated my own paint company for the last 12 or 13 years with my brother and business partner, Josh, who's a champ. So, and we've done a lot of commercial, residential work. We've done quite a bit of stuff all over the place in this lovely state of Pennsylvania. Predominantly now we work in more like upscale or like higher end residential homes, mainly interior, because that's what we specialize in. Yeah. So, and I think that's enough of justifying why I am the painter. So, right? I think that's good. And then my lovely co-host, who is my wife, that's Serina, and she's the Pixie, which you want to explain a little bit why you're the Pixie?
Yeah, so the Pixie is I'm a nutritional therapist, and I have owned and operated my own company for about 3 years now, but everyone always just thought I was very Pixie-like. My mannerisms, my behaviors. I still play Celtic harp for a long time, and everyone always just was like, oh, it's the Celtic Pixie girl.
Yeah, we got a ginormous one sitting right over there. Yeah.
And it just kind of was something that sort of became a persona of mine, and everyone identifies with me like that. And when I work with a lot of my nutrition clients, we kind of get some pretty amazing results, and they're like, it's like magic. And I said, all right, yeah, that's the Pixie thing. It's still coming back to me. So.
Yeah. Well, I remember when we were dating, people would be like, if we were at a party or something, be like, oh, which one's your girlfriend? I'm like, the little Pixie chick over there. That was always my
I did
descriptor.
Have real short hair, and it was all funky.
Yeah. Well, when we started, you had like multicolored, pink and purple and stuff. So
hot pink, and then blue on top of that. So it was like purple, pink, blue, and super fun.
So it was good stuff.
Yeah,
so
that's the Pixie.
yeah. And so more of our details of who we are and whatnot will come out. So we'll try and make this as standalone as possible. If y'all haven't listened to any of the other podcasts that I've done. So like last year I did a show called Jeremy Unsolicited. I did 36 episodes. I think you were on
3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, 3 or 4 times. And then we even did one that we kind of were dubbing like The Painter and the Pixie. Yeah. And then this year for 2018, we decided to, for a variety of reasons, make this its own standalone show.
We got a lot of good positive feedback from people with our Painter and Pixie episodes.
Yeah, so, and I just think it'll be a good thing, and for a lot of production reasons and things, it'll be super fun. We're going to be able to do this really regularly, have a really kind of steady release schedule, and recording the logistics are very nice because I live with you. So
yeah, it's great. Super easy.
Excuse me. So yeah, and that brings us up to right now. Yeah. So one of the things we were going to talk about this episode was so you and I guess we're being a week into it, right? Mm-hmm. So
yeah, today's the 7th. Yep.
Is it the 7th?
We made it a week. It's been a whole week.
Nice job, dude.
Yes.
Yeah. So we did. Serina and I are doing a January challenge, and I would like to say First off, I do not like challenges. I think they're silly. For when you do like a month challenge, and we've done a few together before.
Together.
Well, it's, yeah. We're not going to get into those, but I think they're not good if they burn you out.
Right.
So you've done one where you smashed yoga for like 30 days in a row or something.
Yeah.
And then ended up having a little bit of an injury and then didn't go back to yoga for a while.
Yeah,
So like,
but that wasn't directly after my month. I did a month of hardcore every day. I was 31 sessions in like 31 days. And so I missed
right.
one day in a row and I did 2 on the next day. And
Yeah.
then I did 3 or 4 or 5 days a week for a month or 2 after that. And then I had gotten my injury after that. So it wasn't directly related to
right.
my month challenge.
right.
It was just,
Yeah.
I will say a little bit of a contributing factor because I kind of probably went a little bit too hard too fast. But
right.
I
Yeah.
see what you mean. You don't
Yeah.
want to burn yourself out. You don't want to just kind of like white knuckle it and grit your teeth and get through it to the very end. And it kind of like you feel miserable.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that. You're trying to help to promote more positive habits, healthier habits, and have some fun along the way.
Yeah.
That's what I like about these things. It gives you direction.
Yeah. Well, and particularly if you need a reset, and I know a lot of people are probably doing some January challenges,
Yes.
and I think the one that we're currently doing is a little bit inspired by Sober October, which was from Joe Rogan, Tom Segura, Ari Shaffir, and Bert Kreischer, and they did 15 hot yogas in a month. And then the big thing was to get Bert to not be an alcoholic,
Yeah.
so they all like did no boozing for the month, so that was kind of part of it. But so we've added a few other layers to it.
Giving our own flavor kind of stuff to help ourselves out.
So an element of it is 12 hot yogas
Yep.
a month, which I've been doing for the last several months.
I know. You're
So-
like on month 4.
yeah, it's been a
I
minute.
think 4
Yeah,
months
it's been a
of
minute.
12 yogas, like 3 times a week. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I upped it to. Yeah, it's been at least 4 months where I've been doing that, and
Yeah.
big fan. And I've so I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well, and I had a knee injury last February, where if you listen to any of my previous shows, you probably would have heard how that happened and all that jazz. But I basically got a heel hook in Jiu-Jitsu and have a partial tear in my ACL.
Yeah.
But so I did some other strength and conditioning training, rehabbed it, got back. Went a little bit too hard in strongman type
Yeah,
lifting,
that's
and
what
then
you do.
but now I'm back to yoga. I think because I'm all about establishing a framework where you can flourish, like you or me or anyone.
Yeah.
So, and part of that is figuring out what you need to thrive and the framework that kind of calls you on your BS, so that you actually do the things you need to do to thrive and be the person that you are. The optimal version of yourself.
Yeah.
So for me, the yoga has been super helpful, and it's as I'm ramping back up into jiu-jitsu for this year, I think they're a very nice pairing.
Yeah.
So
Kind of like your yin and yang, Like
Yeah.
you have to stretch yourself back out and
yeah.
do all those things. It's
And
positive.
Joe Rogan was talking about this on his podcast the other day, where he was saying like a lot of the jiu-jitsu guys, it used to be all like kettlebells and strength conditioning and then jiu-jitsu, which for those that don't know, jiu-jitsu is like a grappling martial art that's super effective. It's what they use in the UFC whenever it hits the ground and all that good stuff. But anyway, a lot of guys are switching over to doing, instead of like super intense heavy lifting and strength and conditioning, they're doing a lot more yoga. So
Are they doing a yoga in particular or just yoga in general? Like a specific type of yoga, or is it just like across the board yoga is helpful?
there's a couple guys that came out with yoga kind of practices specifically for grappling athletes. But I mean, for me, I like the hot yoga, and I particularly like, we go to Bikram Yoga Doylestown. Shout out to those fine ladies over there. But I really like it because I like the heat. It's 105 to like 110 degrees in there. I think the humidity is like 40%.
40%, yeah.
And then class lengths vary. And then
Traditionally, it's 90 minutes.
yeah, which I like those. I also like some of the express classes, and then the intermediate class is nice too, because they do a lot more hip openers, which is really nice
Yeah.
for the old jiu-jitsu stuff, because I'm not stretchy. So.
Yeah, I am too stretchy. So I went back to Bikram with you beginning of this week, right? So
Yep.
we can get our numbers
We
in.
got 2 down.
2 down.
So going again this
Yep,
afternoon.
this afternoon is going to be number 3, third for the week. Awesome.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I had been back. I looked back, I said in 6 months. I was like, this is the longest break I've had from yoga in years. 6 whole months without going anywhere, doing anything.
Right.
Shocking to me, but I came back and I'm still a limp noodle.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no strength. I love it. So funny. That's my goal. Work on the strength component. I can bend myself into all these weird positions and then I can't get back out of them.
Yeah, it's really, watching you. I'm just like, dude, you're so. I don't.
Totally the opposite.
Do you think that's from your ballet stuff?
Yeah, and
Okay.
I had yoga for a lot of years, so
Okay.
I've maintained a lot of that flexibility, but I just have lost a lot of the strength component. I have not done anything to maintain the strength portion effectively, not in the way where like if you drop down into a back bend, use your core muscles and just stand right back up. I have to like go back down and turn around. And stand up.
Right. Well, it's interesting. I was doing a little bit of research, and they were saying like some yoga folks you can actually get too stretchy, where the tendons and the ligaments get too like at the end of their range. There's almost no like recoil, like pulling it back, and it happens a lot with ballet folks, where their hips just like splay open. They can't even like really bring them back together. So it's a delicate balance of finding like what I don't have. I'm so far away from overstretching my ligaments. Like I can't even do, what's the eagle one? You know,
where you cross your arms.
yeah, I can't do like my chest. I just can't even do it. My arms still need to undo.
That's all right. You're working on it.
I'm getting there.
3 days a week, man. You're totally
slowly
getting
but
there.
surely. The lower back stuff really helps. I've been trying to do more of the back bends, but anyway. So that's part of the challenge is 12 hot yogas in the month of January, which we're totally on pace. We'll smash that.
Yeah, it was great to be back. I was like, all right, this is awesome.
Yeah. And then another component is a little bit of in the food nutrition department. We're doing, what did we say? No sugar,
No sugar,
no processed food,
no refined carbohydrates.
no refined carbohydrates. So you want to define what you mean by refined carbohydrates?
Sure. So, as you know, most people coming off of the holiday seasons, you've indulged in some, treats and things that you may not normally have been eating. You maybe you do, but things that we don't normally eat. So we said, okay, let's just enjoy it. I'm very much, my philosophy with nutrition and counseling people for nutrition is like to enjoy life and enjoy your foods. Make some really good choices most of the time, and then indulge and enjoy when you have holidays. That's what life's about, right?
Right.
So we did, and maybe a little too much in some areas. And then we decided, okay, we've got to cut back and give ourselves some guidelines. That's why I know, Jeremy, I know you don't really like challenges all that much. I think they're great. I think it gives you a nice start point. It gives you a nice end point. You feel successful. You've completed the goal. You've got your 4 weeks or however long your challenge is for. And it's kind of nice to be able to celebrate your success. But anyway, one of ours was refined carbohydrates. So a refined carbohydrate is basically any kind of carbohydrate, which is, chemically speaking, any fruit, any vegetable, any grain or grain-based product, and sweeteners. So like honey, sugar, maple syrup, brown sugar, any of those sweeteners, those all count as refined carbohydrates. The other components, now I should rephrase that because fruits and vegetables don't count as refined carbohydrates,
Right.
but grains that have been milled and processed and turned into cakes and cookies and sweets and crackers and breads and pies and all these things that people like to enjoy, cookies, hot Christmas cookies for holidays. Those are refined carbohydrates. They've been processed, they've been milled, they've been stripped of vital essential nutrients to create this other confections. Usually it's in a form of confection, bread, those types of things.
Right.
So moving a little bit away from that is going to be really useful, and that's you remove the sugar. So a lot of the refined carbohydrates have sugar in them to begin with.
Particularly any processed foods.
Yes,
potato
processed
chips,
foods.
candy.
Yeah, things in a bag, things in a box,
Yeah.
pretty colors, artificial sweeteners and
All that
dyes
jazz.
and all that.
Which for this part of the challenge is not a really big stretch for you and I. We're not really, me more than you.
Yeah.
I'm not like doing, so ice cream, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And oh man, I love some ice cream.
Ice
Dude,
cream, cheeseburgers, and buns.
Side note, for anyone that lives around here, I'm not going to say exactly where we're living, but Oh Wow Cow's coming to Chalfont. Ooh, son.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's
pretty good.
dangerous. Dangerous. The Vassar family's very excited about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
no ice cream.
No ice cream.
No chocolate.
and then one of the specific things we said is no fried potatoes.
Yes,
because
no fried potatoes.
I want to backpedal on this just a little bit.
Go ahead.
Here's because I'm a great brother and son and husband. I basically signed up for, or I committed to, from here forward, I'm going to run it for a year. I think Josh was my first.
Mm-hmm.
So I said to my family that you guys will figure this out too, but Serena and I like to cook, and we like to make some fancy, fun stuff. So I said to my family that on your birthday, I will make the best version of whatever meal you want me to make. So whatever their favorite meal is, I will try and do the best version of it from scratch. So Josh loves pizza and French fries, and I kind of I threw this one together pretty quick because it was a quick turnaround because I think I started to do it in August.
Yeah. That's his birthday month.
Yeah. And so he likes pizza. I've made pizza before, but I was like, we'll get the pizza out. But the main thing is we just listened to this podcast on revisionist history from Malcolm Gladwell. Y'all should check that out. I think it was episode 11. But he talked about McDonald's old French fries and why they were awesome. And then they changed in 1990, because before they used to fry them in beef tallow,
Right.
which is amazing. It's beef fat. It's amazing.
Rendered beef fat.
So good. And then they switched it because this guy went crazy and said that saturated fats were terrible. He went on this huge rampage after
and animal fats. They didn't want that either.
And I think he had had a heart attack and then blamed saturated fats and all this stuff. So he went after McDonald's really hardcore, and then they had to switch over to vegetable oil, which then caused all these problems. It's a fantastic podcast. I'd recommend it. But the point is, I was like, okay, so the best version of French fries you can make are with rendered beef fat, beef tallow.
Yeah.
And that's it's actually, in my opinion, I think it's like the healthiest version of fried French fries you can.
We can say, yes, we'll put that on a spectrum. And that's the healthiest version of that, yes.
Versus vegetable oil or peanut oil or something like that. But not that they're healthy. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
And they're the most delicious. So what I told my brother, I was like, yo, man, do you want me to get you a gift, or do you want me to make you beef tallow French fries? And he's like, yeah, I friggin' do the beef
French
tallow
fries.
French fries. So I bought a pretty baller deep fryer, and then we had to go out and find beef tallow, which I thought we could get at the store, but we couldn't find it anywhere. So we ended up going, I went to two butchers and got actually beef suet, which is huge chunks of just beef fat.
Yep.
And
it's not rendered beef fat. It's just right off the cow.
Yep. And it's just monster chunks of fat.
I think we had a 7-pound block.
It's super cheap too. It was under 75 cents a pound or something. So and then we had to render it, which our house...
That was definitely
so
an experience. It was just the smell. It was just too much. We got to do that at one point. Big batch. Don't do it for a long time.
Yeah. So, what you have to do is basically dice up the suet, put it in a crock pot, and then slow cook it for a long time so that it liquefies and you kind of strain off the cracklings.
Yeah, so there will be solid pieces that float up to the top. That's what you scrape off. It's little bits of skin or membranes and stuff that people will use, almost like bacon bits, and because it'll get crispy.
Yeah.
Scoop that off, and then you have your beef tallow.
So we did a lot of that, and then I made French fries, which were friggin' awesome.
Yep.
And then because I now have all this amazing tallow, like I did for our Halloween party, I made fried ice cream, and then I did more French fries for that.
Probably 10 pounds of French fries.
It was a lot. But then the problem was too, then I figured out that I didn't need the deep fryer necessarily, because that took so much of the tallow to get that thing up and running.
Yeah.
We would have our cast iron skillet with a decent amount of tallow in there.
Deep,
And then, probably within the last month, I figured out I can make the most baller tater tots. Oh, so good.
Yeah, you figured that out before this last week, Jeremy.
Well, no, I was saying the last couple weeks because I made them for Christmas.
Yeah.
So
basically,
the point is, it's really easy for me to make amazing fried potatoes.
Yes.
And I got the system down way too good. And,
really, really easily. So it's since August, you've been at least once a week, some kind of fried potato.
Yeah, we're going to talk about healthier options later. But for those that want to know how to make awesome tater tots, the clutch move is use a cheese grater.
Like a box grater.
Like a box grater. Shred up the potatoes. Doesn't matter. You can use Yukon Golds. You can use red potatoes, whatever you want. Shred them up, and then I put them in a colander, rinse them down with water, and then try and press out as much of the water as you can. Yeah, you want to kind of rinse that off. And then throw them in a big bowl. Then you throw some AP flour in there, some I did chili powder, garlic powder, and salt and pepper. And then you mix that all up. You make these little lovely tater tot size little round fellas, and then fry them up in your awesome beef tallow, and they're super awesome.
Yeah.
Salt as needed. So
Yeah. So that was one of the reasons why we did the no fried potatoes, which technically then it's total. A plain potato is not a refined carbohydrate.
Yeah.
Sweet potato, white potato, any of that, not a refined carbohydrate. Maybe a starchy carbohydrate, but it's not refined. And then when you shred it and add flour to it and add spices to it and deep fry it, okay, now it's refined.
yeah. And then you made some awesome stuff. Like for my mom's birthday,
Oh yeah,
we did.
I did. I forgot about that.
Like we did coconut fried
Chicken fingers.
chicken fingers. What else did we do for that?
You made some dipping sauces. The
Right.
big hit was the Dijon, honey Dijon sauce. That was really good.
Yeah.
You did potatoes too.
Oh, we did baked potato bar.
Baked potato bar. Yeah.
That was
and we
legit.
had all kinds of stuff.
And then Serena and I, because we had serial watched the Great,
The Great British Baking Show. So much fun. We watched that, like all of it,
So
real
good.
quick.
Yeah, it's on Netflix, folks. If you haven't watched it, it's amazing.
Yeah. I watched the first episode. I was away in November with the Nutritional Therapy Association for our graduating class, was group leading and stuff. And then I stayed with my friend at the hotel and we are like, what do you want to watch? And she's like, have you ever seen the Great British Baking Show? And I said, no. So we watched 4 episodes in one night. And then like went on with our day and I was hooked. Came home. I was like, Jeremy, you have to watch this show with me.
Well, you were watching, and I was in the kitchen doing
Yep.
stuff, and I was like, "This is stupid." And then like I just found myself standing next to you watching. I was like, "Well, what's that?" And then like it is one of those shows that's oddly addictive.
It
You're like,
is.
why do I care so much?
Yeah. And they're so nice to each other.
They are
It's
really
like a
nice to each
competition, and everyone's
yeah.
like, do you need some extra hands? How can I help you?
Yeah.
But anyway, in the Great British Baking Show, they have segments. They have different types of challenges that the contestants will compete in. And one of them is the show stopper, where you like create something super awesome. You get given a brief of like, here's the parameters of what we're looking for. So we said, oh, right, man, for Christine's birthday, for Jeremy's mom's birthday, what can we do? What kind of cool cake? She wanted a fun cake. So I was like, well, I used to work in a bakery. I've got a little bit of experience with decorating and some fun things. So we put together our show stopper for her birthday, and it was so much fun. So you tell them about the cake. I'll tell them about the decorations.
So I've been making this cake for a little bit, and I will say have a little bit of an issue because I perfected a couple cakes, but because sugar is poison, I have a hard time making them consistently for people. But they've quickly become family favorites, so
Yeah.
it's hard not to like crank one out once in a while. So the one we did was basically a little bit of an altered version of a European mocha cake that I've made before in the past. So it's a 2-layer chocolate cake.
It's almost like a brownie cake.
Almost like a
it's a
brownie
little
cake.
dense.
Yeah. And then what we did is we wanted to, one of my mom's favorite things is white chocolate or
Peppermint mocha.
white chocolate peppermint mocha from Starbucks. So we
Yeah,
kind of,
just peppermint mocha.
peppermint, whatever. I think they just take the white mocha and put peppermint in, I think. Anyway, moving on. So then it's got an awesome cream cheese mocha icing on top. And then a layer. And so what we did a layer of peppermint icing in the middle.
Yeah, between the 2 layers.
Between the 2 layers, and then you made the gingerbread houses on top.
Yes. So I wanted to decorate it and make it look cool. The gingerbread flavor didn't really go with the cake itself, but it was just for decoration. So I made these little miniature gingerbread houses and decorated them super cute. We'll post pictures for you all on Instagram so you can see them.
Yeah, well, they can follow. They're on your Instagram, aren't they?
Yeah, I think I have a couple on my Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Serina Ariane. And
Is that the one you're sharing, Serena Ariane? Okay, cool.
Serina.Ariane.
Gotcha.
It's in all of our tags. They'll find it.
Gotcha.
So I did gingerbread houses and a little gingerbread scene. So I made little gingerbread people that were super cute, and they're like 2 inches tall maybe, and around the perimeter of the cake. And then our 2 little houses on top with a little pathway made out of chopped walnuts, and dusted it with white, powdered sugar to make it look like it snowed. And it was super fun. It was super, super cute. Everyone loved it.
Yeah.
And it was great.
It was extremely delicious. And then you had made a gang of other gingerbread.
I
little
did.
men.
I made a lot of little gingerbread men. They all had different faces and different outfits on, and it was super fun to decorate them all. So as a nutritional therapist, I don't really eat much sweets. And honestly, to be totally truthful, I have never really ever had a big sweet tooth. For me, it was always like salty. So I would
Potato chips.
Potato chips. Any day of the week, if you gave me a big bowl of ice cream or a bowl of potato chips, I will choose the potato chips hands down 100% of the time. Never ever would I choose the ice cream. So that was another reason over the holidays you go to parties these? And you're like, oh, I'll just eat some of these potato chips.
Yeah.
So for me, that was the fried potato portion that was like a big deal for me. But anyway, I really like decorating sweets. When I worked at my bakery years ago, it was so much fun to do the little icing and the piping, and I like to use my hands. I used to do a lot of sculpting with modeling clay and stuff.
Right.
So it's kind of like that, but with food, which is like two things that are super awesome.
Yeah.
So I made it for Christine's birthday card. I made her a little plate of gingerbread men, and it was one gingerbread man holding a little banner connected to another gingerbread man, and I wrote "Happy Birthday, Christine" or something like that on it.
Yeah.
And decorated them, and I had a lot of fun with it. It was super fun. And Christine really enjoyed it, and it was a really special treat. And going back to the nutritional thing, sometimes you just have to have fun and do these things. And you don't want to waste really good, expensive ingredients to make a healthy cake when you just want it to be fun and pretty and decorative and like
Right.
share a little treat with somebody. Totally okay.
And we're not making those every week.
We're not making them every week.
We did eat quite a bit of gingerbread.
We did eat a little bit of that gingerbread, yeah.
Even Gus had quite a bit of gingerbread.
Oh my gosh, I know. I had saved all the houses from the gingerbread topper of Christine's cake. The flavors did not go. But I saved all of my little houses and put them on a little tray as like a centerpiece for our table. And we left Gus in the house one day, and I just like looked around and you're like, there's nothing he can get into. All the food's put away, all the stuff's closed, and we left. And I had so much in my head. Oh yeah, that gingerbread house is decoration. I didn't realize it was also still edible. And we came back and he had devoured the whole village. Little pieces we found. I was like, well, you can't blame the guy.
And then for those that don't know, Gus is our dog. He's a Lagotto Romagnola.
Yeah, you Romagnolo.
Romagnolo?
Yeah,
Did I say it
Lagotto.
right? Lagotto.
Lagotto Romagnolo.
Yeah. And he's currently by my feet right now chewing a
Peanut butter Kong.
peanut butter Kong. So yeah.
Yeah,
but,
you saw him featured on our posts.
yeah,
or
you'll see a
Instagram
lot more of those
pictures.
on the
He's super
Instagram
cute.
if you follow the Painter and the Pixie on Instagram.
Yeah, so he had a little treat. He enjoyed our little gingerbread village aftermath.
And then super weird poops after. So,
Yeah, I know.
as
That's
one
what
does.
happens.
Yep.
He was all right.
Yeah. So we're doing a little bit of recalibration, reset on the.
So those types of things would count as refined carbohydrates. So
Perfect
we put
example.
those on pause.
And then I just want to come back to the challenge.
Yeah.
I think if you structure a challenge well, it can give you really good perspective on something, particularly if you limit something or try to add something new. It's like if it's a good jump start to good habits.
Yeah.
And then another part of this one for us is no booze.
Yeah.
Which-
Holidays, you just like drink a little more wine, a little more gin. It's like good,
Yeah,
it becomes a little more habituated.
And that's kind of what happens. There's an influx of alcohol, like starting kind of for me, it's like from Halloween through Christmas and New Year's, because it's Thanksgiving. We had a lot of wine brought to the house, and it's awesome. So
Delicious.
huge fan of and then once we're out of January, folks, I'll probably be posting some videos on how to mix like really good gin and tonics.
Yeah.
And Serina and I are pretty good at mixing good mixed drinks, and I'm quite a fan of the IPAs. And
We'll
all
do
that.
another episode, I'm sure, sometime about like healthier ways to drink. So if you are going to drink and indulge and enjoy, what's the least negatively impactful way to do so? I think that's really, you can do that sometimes and enjoy here and there. But when it becomes like, every weekend, every day, all little bits
Well,
where you're like,
yeah.
all right, we're just winding down for the night. You want to give yourself a break and say, hold on, let me step back here and
Right.
recalibrate the system.
Make sure it's not actually turning into a bad habit.
Right.
And for me, I read a lot of the last probably month and a half or so. So when I'm painting and in general, I listen to a ton of audiobooks, which the listeners will either already know or will
We'll
figure
soon
out
find
quickly.
out.
Is that I last I checked, I had over 420 books in my Audible library,
quite
and
a
that
few.
doesn't even count the other books that I have, which have got to be in the hundreds from other services as well. So I can, particularly the last couple of weeks, I've been going through about 3 audiobooks in a week.
Yep.
I'd say my normal is like 1 to 2.
Well, because you're painting, you just put your ear thing in and you just listen while you're going. It's great.
AirPods, so amazing. We'll come back to that. So I did a lot of research on and listening to basically guys that are almost just studying success. And it's kind of interesting because I never really thought of success as a skill. And then I was listening to Benjamin Franklin's book. I forget the dude that wrote it. I'll look it up. But he wrote a book on Ben Franklin, and he said at one point Ben Franklin kind of like he was a wild dude. It's pretty fascinating. But at one point when he settled back in Philadelphia, they said he settled down and focused on success, something to that effect, which is weird to think about, settling down to focus on success. Like people don't really, I haven't really heard it put like that before, where instead of like
it just happens,
pursue your passion and then blah blah blah. So I've listened to quite a few books. Let's see, I made a quick list here. So I did Brendan Burchard, which is High Performance Habits. He's kind of like an executive high performance coach kind of a guy. I also just finished last week the Motivation Manifesto, also by Brendan Burchard, and then I listened to Grant Cardone, which, if people don't know who he is, he's quite the character. He did the 10X rule, be obsessed or be average, sell or be sold. And then I also just finished Capital Gains by Chip Gaines, which is the dude from, I think it's called The Fixer Upper. They did the Magnolia brand. That's a crazy fame. It's like with the number one show on TV.
Yeah, gotcha.
Him and his wife. So, and all these guys kind of have different takes on success. Grant Cardone is a sales master, basically. What's funny to me is anytime these guys get away from their kind of domain of dominance and they start giving life advice. I was thinking about you when I was listening to these guys, because there's a couple books where they're like life coachy type guys, and they've succeeded in one way or the other. But as soon as they start talking about nutrition or exercise, they should really stop talking or like defer to someone who knows what they're talking about, because they really are. Particularly, what they should just be like, go read Rob Wolf's book,
right?
Wired to Eat, instead of being like, I listened to The Compound Effect. That was one where the guy really kind of veered off as far as nutrition goes. I'm like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, well, and a lot of these dudes, they're like, this worked for me, so it's perfect for everybody.
Right,
and like,
right.
most of the time, those guys are extremists in some way or shape or form.
Yeah.
And like, their biology is different. Hello, bioindividuality. If anyone ever talks to me, I talk about bioindividuality all the time. They don't take into consideration that there are differences that people need to focus on. And so it's like, this thing worked for me, everybody needs to do it, and that's how you'll be successful, because follow my exact path and you'll get there. Well, unfortunately, all these other people are not you, so like, it's probably not going to be that. You don't have to be like so pinpoint specific as to following exactly what you did. So it's comical sometimes to hear what people are saying. Do this is awesome, this will keep you healthy, and you're like, have you done this for 50 years? Do you know that this is going to like really get you where you want to go?
It's kind of like that old story of like a really successful businessman sitting down at a dinner and then expounding on politics. He doesn't know crap about politics. It's like, dude, just,
you're successful here doesn't mean you're successful here.
Yeah, they're not necessarily complementary. But what I noticed is I'm basically studying all these guys' their take on what it takes to be successful.
Right.
And there's some overlap in their theories. So they, particularly Grant Cardone's a very extreme character. If anyone knows who he is, like side note, he's like balls deep in Scientology. So he's like one of their biggest contributors, and he's worth probably close to $500 million right now. So he's doing well. And his sales coaching and his, any of that training, he is like a baller, like Jedi Master level salesman.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So, and
he knows how to talk to people.
and I think particularly for males, his stuff is good if you want to stay motivated and push hard through things, because he doesn't really sugarcoat a lot of stuff. Just when he starts talking about Dianetics, I would just be like, meh, which is L. Ron Hubbard.
Okay.
It's kind of the Bible of Scientology, if you will. But if you listen to his sales stuff, that stuff's all good. But a lot of them are like channeling hypervigilance and being on all the time, and like constant output, and just being like hyper alert. And I'm like, man, you guys must not be fun at all to hang out with. Like, it's a weird.
Well, they're always looking for the.
It's
going.
It's weird if you're around someone that never can like chill. That's a weird kind of vibe to be thrown down. And then I listened to all these dudes that were like crazy high performers, like smash, 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 smash. And then I just am halfway through a book called Rest, which is the study of rest. And this guy, it's fascinating. I'm only like midway through it right now, but this dude's been talking about like, if you push hard, you also need to like rest hard. And he's really defining, I'll talk more about this book once I finish it, because I don't like talking about stuff that I'm not done yet, but it's a more balanced approach. So
like you have to push hard, but then you have to let your body recover. so that you can push hard and then you recover and then you push hard and then you recover.
And then it's different for like if you're a creative or if you're in a corporate setting or whatever, like your brain almost has different outputs. It's almost the difference between like sprinting and then running a marathon.
Okay.
Like your body has different requirements for recovery for those two different outputs.
That makes sense.
But what I noticed is the overlap is taking action. Is
do something.
You know, Cardone always says massive action, and then the other guys have different, very like Jocko Willink's another great guy to listen to. He's got you listen to it. Discipline Equals Freedom. I don't know if you listened to it.
I read it. It's not on audio now, at least as far as I know.
It's actually like an audio album. You can get it on Spotify and iTunes and stuff.
That. Yeah, I read it on paper.
Yeah, and that was a great book. It's in like black and white. It's a really cool book. Yeah. I think my brother has my copy right now.
He does.
Anyway, but it's all about kind of one, taking full responsibility for where you are, and even if that's wrong, it's a better way to think. Like that you're 100% responsible for where you are right now and where you're going, particularly where you're going. That's like more. Yeah. It's being future oriented and then being like I'm 100% responsible for my situation. And then looking at the world like, what are the actions I can take to better my situation? So for me, the challenge in January is it kind of dovetails into all the things we were saying. Like yoga is an action that you take. And then for me, it was like, what did we say? 3 Instagram posts a week for this show.
Yep.
I don't think we put any. We already knew we're recording an episode a week for the show, so that wasn't part of it. But then,
it was on the list.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we're doing. I'm putting out my first 4 YouTube videos for my YouTube channel, which doesn't count. If everything goes well today, folks, this show will be available on the YouTubes as well on the Painter and the Pixie channel. And then I'm on my personal channel. I'm doing some tutorials and some other things, prepping
super fun stuff, guys. You'll love it.
Yeah. So in 2018, for me, it's all about just action and pulling the trigger, and that's what I wanted January to be a jump start for. So I'm like forcing myself to. Particularly when you're starting the ball rolling on a new venture, it takes a lot of push to get a little bit of momentum going. Like for me, it's establishing the workflow for filming a YouTube video, getting it to my cousin so he can edit it, picking the soundtrack, get like all of the stuff that I'm going to do, and then and then uploading it and all that jazz, because we're working on some educational videos for you. We're working on some educational videos for between me and my brother. So we've got some cool stuff planned this year, and I want to just kind of jumpstart it. So that's part of it. And then bringing it back to my old friend alcohol. What was funny is I mentioned something like, alcohol is like a bad friend. Yeah. And then you're like, no, it's a good friend. And I was,
say that.
But he made a good point.
Well, because it works. Like people, when you drink alcohol, you want to have a certain effect, and it's always there and it's always predictable and it always works. So in that sense, it's a good friend. Maybe not best influence type of a friend, but they're always there. Well, it's always available.
Booze, I always say it's like the spackle of life. It just kind of smooths over the cracks. But what it also does is if you're trying to push a little harder, it's really hard to do that if you're drinking kind of consistently and like particularly doing more creative, engaging things. It's a little bit harder to like sit down and film that video or do that extra thing and push a little bit harder. So
it kind of basically just makes you feel okay with where you're at.
Right.
As opposed to, wow, I'm sitting here with myself and it's uncomfortable and I'm not really happy with what's going on in life. Like, let me just take a drink of alcohol and then I'll feel fine, because that stuff doesn't matter as much. It's not that it's less of an issue. It's that your tolerance goes up because you kind of have some room up top to let that, that stress kind of rise and you don't even care.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is that it's not sustainable if you want to ever do anything in life. If you want to accomplish things and achieve goals and have your YouTube channel and do all this stuff, like you can't keep saying, I'm fine with where I'm at. You want to be a little bit uncomfortable. You want to be able to say, I don't really like where this is right now. I want to step forward and do something else. So like, okay, instead of regulating your brain with this volume down thing, this alcohol depressant sort of a situation, you want to say, okay, well, what can I do actively? What can I do? Accomplish, go, be, smash, as you say, and go after what you want to get after. So it's great to be able to say for yourself for 30 days, for a month, to say, all right, this is no longer an option. I have to do. I have to keep going. I've got to do the things that I want to do.
And then particularly with you and me, it's nice to like agree to that. And then different parts of this challenge are harder for us.
Yeah.
Like some are harder for you and some are harder for me. Like yoga's a jump start for you. And then I've already been doing it. So
that pattern.
it's just kind of, again, frameworks to flourish. And
like the refined carbs.
Yeah.
It's fine.
You
It's
and me
not,
with sugar.
not so hard for me.
It's not
sugar, not a big deal.
Yeah. And then booze, we're both like, I liked that though. And it's because alcohol is just like the guy, like, dude, you're fine. Everything's cool, man. Just chill. It's cool, man. And
Don't worry. You take care of that
it's
tomorrow.
Fine. It'll fine. So, yeah, I'm definitely getting more specific. And then you said critical the other day. I was like, yeah.
Yeah. You said I get more specific without this, smoothing agent. I'm like, you're more critical. It's just like, I don't like that. Well, good. Use that as momentum to push you forward.
Yep.
What don't you like about it? Figure out how to fix it and then fix it.
Yep. Yeah. So it's
all good, man.
Yeah. But we will reestablish perhaps a healthier relationship with alcohol in February. So which will be
you just take it one step at a time and say, okay, like maybe a glass of wine on the weekends. You don't have to just like make it automatic. You've got choices.
When it's automatic, I think that's the issue. So what we've been doing, or what I've been doing to combat the I like different. Side note, folks, I drink a ton of liquid.
Yeah, you do.
Big fan. So for water, half your body weight in ounces a day.
Yeah,
plus,
you got it.
Plus what, an ounce and a half for every diuretic?
So 1.5 ounces to 2 ounces for every 1 ounce of a diuretic beverage. So my little 6-ounce cup of coffee here for myself is going to need about 16 ounces of water to compensate for that.
Gotcha. Okay. So it
brings you back to neutral.
Yeah.
You aim half your body weight in ounces, and then you compensate for your diuretics, but you cap yourself off. Most people at about 100 or 120 ounces a day.
Yeah.
You don't really need to go beyond that.
So, and I like different flavors and things as well. So I'm doing kombucha, GT trilogies, my normal jam, but I like some of their other flavors as well. So we're stocking the drink fridge with I gotta get some Pellegrino and some kombucha, and we get Loud Zevia, the which is a soda flavored with stevia.
Yeah, it's just a carbonated water and flavoring with stevia. So it's like a step in the right direction. If you're like coming off of a soda drinking habit, you still need the texture, the fizziness, the flavor, the sweet.
It's a nice little thing that also doesn't
little stepping stone.
It doesn't jack up your insulin response or any of that.
Right.
So, so we're doing that, and then also focusing on output, which is another thing to give your brain something to focus on.
Yep.
And was that all the things that we did for the thing?
Yoga, 12 yoga, Instagram posts, videos, no refined carbohydrates, sugar,
fried potatoes, alcohol.
Yeah, I put that in the refined carbohydrate category. I think that's pretty much everything. I think we got it.
Yeah. So,
if we missed something, we'll talk about it later. But I think those were the main points anyway.
So that is what we were doing
Painter and the Pixie
for January, and then obviously getting all the back end for the show straight, and there is a threshold. Like once you build something up and you establish the workflow, it's obviously way smoother and easier to keep doing it. Like once we dial the show in, it's going to be easier and easier to put this thing out.
Right.
But it's always that first one is the hardest. So that's why I think taking action's really important.
Yeah.
Where I've been, I think, and I was telling my brother this because we were both kind of in the same, he's really steady as well and working on some of his projects and different things where it's like, there's no limit to how much research you can do. Do you know what I mean? Like
there's always more to dip your fingers into.
Yeah. There's always, so like research could keep going on indefinitely where action is going to like bring that research into reality.
Yeah. Do something with what you already know and you can make adjustments along the way.
So, and I've definitely been guilty of before, like trying to get everything perfect before I commit to something or do something, which there's something to be said for taking your time with something and really thinking it out.
Yeah. You want to be prepared and understand consequences of some things, but there's also a time for action where you're like, okay, I've learned enough. I've read enough. I've researched enough. Go.
Yeah, and 2018 is action oriented. So, and that's my so that's what's cracking in January.
Yeah.
So, you have any other thoughts on our challenge? Well,
I was going to mention I don't know if this was where you wanted to talk about this, but like one of the things that's really helped you to kickstart your mornings from this challenge is to have this awesome smoothie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So,
So you've been doing some really fun stuff with your breakfasts because it was kind of like what would often happen, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you'd go and you'd get ready for work and you'd do your normal breakfast like eggs, bacon, sauerkraut, avocado, whatever, and kind of like mishmash for lunch, whatever you have lying around, whatever we would have left over. And oftentimes there wasn't really anything, or you didn't really necessarily prepare a really decent meal for yourself for lunch. So it was kind of like nitpicky. Picking at stuff, and you'd come home and you're like, I'm ravenous, I'm so hungry, and you'd have to eat something, whatever's available, before you went off to train.
Yep.
Between getting home and training and then coming back home for dinner. So one of the things that I think was really helpful for you to kind of keep yourself steady throughout the day is to make this really great, awesome, nutrient dense, power punch pack smoothie that you can use as like basically your lunch.
Yep.
Super awesome. Maybe have a little bit of leftovers from dinner the night before or something to kind of patch you through, but it's been a fantastic resource for you.
Yeah, I kind of I pushed hard a couple months ago where I was like, I just need to automate this.
Yeah.
Because if you can automate good habits, that's another thing that all these kind of coaches and performance experts
Take the
are talking
questions
about.
out of it.
Is just like you aren't your thoughts. You are what you do. You are the actions that you take. So that's, if you say you're a nice guy and you act like a dick all the time, like you're actually not a nice guy.
Yeah.
So it's if you take, kind of automate the positive actions, you start kind of becoming them, which is really helpful. So what I did is I'm just doing a smoothie every day, and then now I'm treating it more like lunch, where I used to try and do a lunch and the smoothie.
Right. You do breakfast, smoothie, lunch.
Right.
But then you realized, the smoothie is beefy enough as far as calories and nutrients go that like you didn't really necessarily need a separate lunch.
Yeah, and I will say too, with not doing the refined carbohydrates and then drinking alcohol, I've been eating like an absolute maniac this last week. Like I've eaten so much food. Yeah. It's just like, so because I think people might think that you have to really restrict a lot of things if you're
doing this kind of challenge.
I feel like January, and this will loop back to the smoothie portion, where people feel like you've got to really restrict, and Serina and I still eat fantastically. So just is that a word, fantastically?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, why not? So we still eat really well.
Yeah.
And so, for instance, my breakfast is usually 2 eggs. I guess is it fried? Like skillet? Yeah, on basically on top of
2 fried eggs.
Yeah, on top of bacon grease.
Like you cook the bacon and then you fry the eggs in the bacon grease.
So good. And then I'll throw some fermented sauerkraut, which you instructed me is different than the one kind I got.
Yeah,
I was
don't
like,
get pasteurized.
I'm like, I didn't know. Yeah. So they're in the refrigerated section, folks. Yeah. So I do that, and then now I do this monster.
2 eggs, 2 bacon.
Yeah,
sauerkraut.
2 eggs, 2 bacon, and
coffee with heavy cream.
Coffee with delicious heavy cream. I'm so happy I got the Trickling Springs heavy cream this week.
Good.
It's made the transition much
Delish.
easier. Yeah. And then the smoothie I do is like, let's see. It's a ton of kale.
Yep.
So I usually do kale, Swiss chard, spinach.
We kind of like modeled this off of Rhonda Patrick. She had this like micronutrient smoothie that she did, and we kind of like took that and then tweaked it for what we liked better.
So, and then I tweaked even where we started with it. So, because what I do now is I take full fat coconut milk and then pour that into we have a Vitamix, which is amazing.
Awesome.
It's like the Death Star of blenders. It's so good. So I put a full can of coconut milk in there and then another can of water and then whip that up, put it in a mason jar, and that's what I use as my liquid in my smoothie. So I'm getting really good fats in there. So it's I do a carrot, a full avocado.
Whole avocado.
I do like a small tomato. What else? Oh, I usually do like half of a frozen banana and like maybe like a handful of blueberries.
A handful of whatever frozen fruit we've got. Usually it's blueberries.
Blueberries. And then I do, is that it?
So Swiss chard, kale, spinach, avocado, tomato, carrot, banana, coconut milk, blueberries.
And then I do the collagen peptides.
Oh, and collagen. Yep. You add a scoop of the collagen peptides.
And what are collagen peptides?
So collagen peptides, what's the brand we have? I forget.
It's one you got for us.
I totally forget.
Anyway.
Well, I'll get that for you. It'll come to me. Anyway, collagen peptides are just protein. Peptides are protein chains, and they're from This one's from beef collagen,
Yeah.
and it's organic, grass-fed, fantastic, good quality. So it's a different type of a protein powder. It's not the same as like a whey protein or soy protein or any of that stuff, because we're kind of like, don't really, not necessarily the cleanest sources of protein. So that's all that it is. It's a nice little protein powder.
Yeah. And then
Source.
I do that. I throw some ice cubes in there and then the coconut milk and then whip that up. And
You don't even add any water anymore?
Nope.
All right.
No, I just do like, like a quarter of that mason jar of the coconut milk.
Yeah, so like one
mixture.
can usually will last you 3 to 4 smoothies.
Yeah, about 4 smoothies. Yeah. So, and my mom upped my smoothie game this Christmas. She got me, which I was skeptical. She got me these like, what are they called? I guess they're double wall
kind
insulated.
of thermoses.
Like
But they're not like
mugs.
this thermos brand.
Yeah, yeah. So, and it's got a sweet top on it, and it keeps the smoothie super, super cold, like way colder than just putting an ice pack next to the mason jar that I used to do.
Yeah, I used to take one of the big mason jars
Yeah.
with you, filled up with your smoothie, and drink that through a giant straw. And
Yeah.
now you've got these cooler mug things, and they're fantastic.
They're wonderful because smoothies are, at least in my opinion, best consumed like a Slurpee. Basically, you want it as cold as possible because it's, particularly in the ones that I make, there's not that much sugar in them.
Yeah.
Which is
Oh,
kind
do
of
you do an apple in yours anymore?
no, I don't.
Okay.
Sometimes if I'm out of carrot or out of bananas, but because I will say I've seen some folks, and I thought this would be good actionable intelligence for the
Yeah.
listeners. Not all smoothies are created equal.
Right.
So I've seen some of my clients and just friends and stuff that have said, "Oh, I'm doing smoothies," and they'll do like, crappy yogurt and
Yeah, like
and
fat-free,
a-
sugar-filled yogurt.
and a ton of fruit
And all fruit.
which is like that's not a. And do you want to explain why that's not a good choice?
Sure, yeah. So a lot of those smoothies people do, and I've seen some of my clients and people that I know and talk to, as soon as they find out you're into nutrition, then they're like, oh yeah, I do smoothies. It's like really a common response from people. But anyway, it's just filled with basically sugar.
Yeah.
All of it is sugar. And if you use, for example, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, at other episodes in more detail, but if you use a yogurt that's 0% fat or low fat or whatever, in order for something like that to taste good, you have to add sugar to it. One of the roles of fat for your taste buds is to make food taste good.
Yeah.
Legitimately, that's what it's for. So when you remove the fat, you've got to add something else to make it taste better. And oftentimes, virtually every time, it's sugar. So you're adding sugar with a little bit of protein and probably no fat from that yogurt, which has been highly pasteurized. So you don't even get any of the probiotic benefit from the yogurt, or minimally, because sometimes they add microbes afterwards. Then you add fruit or peanut butter or whatever. And so peanut butter is like on the fence. You've got some protein, you've got a little bit of fat there. And you add fruit. So all of that is just sugar. When it hits your bloodstream, it just spikes your blood sugar like crazy. There's no really good stabilizing agent to keep blood sugar nice and smooth. So when you have a really big high spike in blood sugar, you can have too much insulin in your bloodstream. You can have too much blood sugar. You have a stress response from the body, from your adrenals. And essentially then an hour or two after you consume that lovely healthy smoothie, quote unquote, you have a big crash and your body's just like, you have no energy. So what do? You go for coffee, you go for energy drinks, you go for more sugar. You say, well, fruit's really healthy. Fruit is healthy. Yes, there are really, really wonderful benefits to fruit. But if that's the main source of calories and nutrients from your smoothie, it's not a good way to go. That's why I love your smoothie so much, because you've got a great blend of non-starchy carbohydrates from all of those greens. You have good other micronutrients that you find in there, like magnesium and selenium and these other nutrients that are fantastic.
Right.
You've got a lot of really healthy fats, and those healthy fats actually help to stabilize your blood sugar after you consume those carbohydrates, the sugars, right? Blood sugar goes up, but it takes a little bit longer to digest, so it keeps your blood sugar more smooth and steady when you have those fats mixed in with the carbohydrates.
Right.
So that's an awesome smoothie. That's like fantastic, super duper cool smoothie. It's almost like you're eating a salad with some sweet stuff mixed into it, so it's a little bit more palatable and keeps your blood sugar nice and steady and smooth for a long time.
Yeah.
Like that smoothie will keep you full for how long?
Well, this week, not very long.
Well, this week's a little bit different because you kind of have changed your whole metabolic intake.
My body's like, where's the booze and
Well, you've
carbohydrates?
eaten like twice as many calories as you have been eating,
I
and
dropped-
you're still so hungry.
I dropped 5 pounds this week too,
Yeah.
by the way. So for folks that think you have to like starve yourself to lose weight.
Not true.
Not true.
Not true. You got to help your body to metabolize and burn those nutrients, those calories effectively. And if you're consuming good fats, but you're not digesting and utilizing them, then your body's going to store it. Especially true if you have a lot of carbohydrate. Like if you're drinking a bunch, all of your mixers, all of your alcohol, beer, all that stuff is just carbs. That's just carbs that your
Right.
body gets used to burning carbs really, really quickly. And like, okay, well, if carbs aren't available, then I don't know how to burn this other stuff. Like, give me those carbs. They're super easy to burn. I don't care about those fats over here. Proteins, kind of on the fence how quickly you'll burn those. But for you, it's like, okay, we've removed the carbs and you're getting tons and tons of good calories and good nutrients from all of your food, and your body's kind of like, whoa, what? This is not what we're used to doing. This is not like, come on, give me those carbs. Give me those easy to burn nutrients. Where's the alcohol?
Yep. Yeah. When I
Where's
heard
the sugar? Where's the pasta? Where's the bread?
there was a really good podcast with Rogan, I think 2 weeks ago, with Nina. I'll mess up her last name. It starts with a T. It's like Tishowitz or something. But she wrote, I think the book was called The Big Fat Lie or something, Big Fat Lie, something like that.
Yeah.
And she was just talking about, like, I'm pretty sure it was her, where she was describing the human body as like, it's a hybrid.
Yeah.
So you want to get good at like electric and then also gasoline. Like gas would be more, I guess, I don't know, however you want to describe it, but gas would be carbohydrates, and then the electric would be fats.
Whatever.
And it was
you want to be adaptive. You want to be able to burn both fuels easily.
and there's a lot of talk of like ketosis and doing ketogenic diets, with which you've experimented with in the past before, and some people do really well with them. Some people don't do as well. So it's kind of, you want the option to be able to burn fats and burn carbs, and it kind of varies for different activities depending on your physical output as well. A lot of athletes find that some do really well on the ketogenic diet. A lot of them, if you're might need a little more carbohydrates in their diet. So
yeah, and that comes back to bioindividuality, where I love that, because so oftentimes a lot of Americans, a lot of even people who come to see me nutritionally, we're so programmed and primed for carbs. Carbs. Our culture is filled with them. So it's very easy for our bodies to downshift into carb mode and say, all right, this is our main fuel source. We're going to focus on burning carbs. I don't really care about these fats. Just put them into storage and we'll figure out what to do with them later.
Yeah.
But what you want is to be able to burn your carbs when you eat carbs, burn your fats when you eat fats, so that if you have carbs with your meal and healthy fats and protein and so forth, and you go 6 hours because you're at work or whatever, and you have a long break, you feel good. You have good energy, you have good clarity, mental clarity, and all of that, because your body says, all right, let's tap into our fat reserves and let's use those fats for energy, so that by the time you get to your next meal, it's like, oh yeah, it's time to eat, but I'm not ravenous. I'm not like, oh, I can't move. I'm so dizzy. I need food now. Like, if that's happening to you, you're basically pretty much a carb burner only. Your body is not burning those fats effectively, usefully for your system. So you want to be fat adapted, or whatever some people call it that. You want to be able to adaptively burn your fats and adaptively burn your carbohydrates. That's the ideal. That's awesome.
Yeah, and
going back to what you said, I'm sorry, I'm cutting off.
No, go ahead. No.
With the ketogenic diet, that's really popular right now. And honestly, it's useful. It's useful in certain circumstances. And personally, professionally, I use that a lot with some of my clients as kind of like a therapeutic diet. You do it short term. You take away the carb message from being so strong, focus on fats, retrain the body. How do you burn those fats and use them for energy? And then you slowly introduce those carbs in a healthy way where you can become adaptive.
Right.
Awesome.
Right.
Fantastic.
Yeah, because that's one of the things they touched on in that Rogan podcast with the Nina lady. She was saying that it's like, if you have excess body fat, it's basically like you have a bunch of granola bars strapped to your body.
Yeah, like a larder right there for you.
Like you have stores of nutrients, and it's like having extra gasoline just around, but a lot of people can't get access to it and burn it.
Yep.
Side note, so Serina and I have been watching Planet Earth 2 on Netflix.
Gosh, so awesome.
And we watched one last night, and it was in the desert, and there was this bird called the butcher
Butcher bird. Oh
Dude,
my gosh.
speaking of a larder, that's what triggered this thought, where this bird it gets like lizards and stuff.
And little rodents.
And like rodents and mice, and there's this plant that has these gnarly spikes.
It's a type of cactus.
It's a type of huge, like feet-long spikes, and it skewers.
It just like skewers them right onto it to kill them.
Yeah, like how they used to, back in the day, you defeat your enemies, cut their head off, and put it on a pike, on a castle. That's like what this bird's nest looked like. And so what it would do is like it skewered all of these little animals on this one cacti, and it was high up off the ground, and so that
nothing else could go eat them.
Yeah, and then it would rip off pieces of it and then go feed it to its baby chicks. I was like, dude, that is gangster. Like,
totally
that is
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ooh. So that's interesting. That's definitely crazy. It's a great show if you guys like animals and you want to learn about the world. It's super awesome.
And the cinematography is amazing.
Fantastic.
So it's as I've gotten more into photography and filming and stuff, the rigs that those guys are running, wildlife photography is insanely expensive. So, I mean, routinely those guys' rigs are shooting like $30,000 setups with their lenses and cameras and stuff.
Totally crazy.
Anyway.
So I also wanted to add another side note. For those of y'all who are listening who don't know what a ketogenic diet is or who might not be familiar, that's basically a very high fat, low carb, low to moderate protein sort of diet. So it's if anyone's heard of Atkins, it's similar to an Atkins style diet. That's just the most popular one that I know that people will have heard of. But it's high fat, low carb essentially is what that means. That's
gotcha. Good side note there.
Add that in there.
and for those that are also it's taken me a while to dial in my smoothie game. When I first started dating Serina, she had her smoothie stuff on point because she'd been doing it for a while. And I made some mistakes in the past. And
one of my funniest memories of you, I literally fell to the floor laughing. I cried. I almost peed myself laughing. It was hysterical.
I don't think so. We've been married. We've been married 3 years, and I guess together a total of 5.
Yeah.
It's been more than 5 now.
Yeah, it's been more.
So I made a smoothie with my Vitamix, and we had been putting a lot of nuts and stuff.
No, we hadn't.
Well, some of them. We put some nuts in there. I feel like I didn't come up with it.
No, we did not. So here was the thing. You said, how can I up my fat protein sources in my smoothies that I'm making?
Yeah.
I was like, add a little handful of walnuts or something, or almonds, and like give yourself a little boost, right? So mind you, I said, add a little handful to give you a boost.
So I added more than a handful. It was like, I don't know, like a bag
like
of walnut.
4 cups of walnuts.
It wasn't 4 cups.
It was a whole bag. It was 4 cups of walnuts.
It might have been 4 cups. It was a lot.
It's like,
and I couldn't get it through the straw.
and he's like sucking so hard on the straw, and he's like, I don't get it. I literally came into the room and I just fell to the floor laughing. His face is turning red. He's sucking in the smoothie.
Well, I had made it and you weren't around. Then you came back from work or something and you were, over our house. And then I was trying to get this smoothie down and you're like, what did you put in here? And then you explained that I basically made like a walnut butter or something. Yes,
and you're trying to drink walnut butter through a straw.
It was a lot of healthy fats. I couldn't get it down. But I don't think I've seen you laugh that hard since then. So you're like, you did what?
Yeah, that was great. That was awesome.
You got to experiment, and it takes a little while to get it dial it in, and then now I've got a pretty good ratio. I can bang those out pretty fast. Yeah. And then I know for some folks too, the kale can be a very pungent taste, so you can work yourself up to. Yeah, you can kind of do more fruit and less greens, and then start kind of working your way down to more greens, less fruit, and then you kind of do get used to it.
You can put yogurt in. Just like I would suggest, go for a higher fat content. If you're used to eating a super low fat diet, then go to 2% yogurt and wean yourself up to a higher fat protocol. With your foods, and it's like a great way to transition. So if you make a strawberry, banana, blueberry smoothie, add like a little handful of baby spinach. It'll turn it a nice green color and start moving you in the right direction.
And I would say spinach is that's like a starter green. It's mild. That's like the gateway green because spinach doesn't have that much of a flavor to it. So I did a lot of spinach, and then now I'm more into the kale Swiss chard and still some spinach, but it's good.
It's awesome.
So I will probably make I will commit to it on this podcast where I will make a video. We'll throw it up on Instagram.
Okay.
Where I'll just do a little video on my smoothie and how I make it, and then hopefully that'll be helpful for people. We'll include the measurements,
general recipe guidelines. Yeah. You don't measure anything, but we'll give some guidelines so people kind of know what to go for.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
So, dude, we nailed it. That was a little over an hour.
All right,
and we got to all the things.
Awesome.
So
super fun.
Anything else you want to add?
Not really. I mean, hey, if you guys were inspired by the smoothies, make one. Go enjoy that. You know, and make some yummy, tasty things.
Yeah, do that stuff and
challenge yourself.
Do it up. Then let's see. Yeah, I think that's it. Mm-hmm. We nailed it. Put a pin in it, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Yeah.
Bam. All right.
All right, guys, that is all for us today. We hope you enjoyed our first episode of The Painter and the Pixie. For show updates, awesome pictures, and some fun little tidbits throughout the week, be sure to follow us on Instagram at The Painter and the Pixie, all spelled out.
Thank you very much for listening. We will see you in the next episode. Until then, have a wonderful week. Stay out of trouble. Have some fun making some smoothies.
And maybe don't put 4 cups of walnuts in yours.
Probably don't do that.
Yeah.
That is it for us, guys. Have a good one. Peace.
Amazing.